What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more electronic. Again, I know this deep dive has not been as regular as I would like it to be, but we are getting close to the end of the first album. In the moment, I'm not remembering whether the second album of theirs is in the folder. I'm sure Han Solo will comment. But yeah, either way, we are up to the penultimate tune of the first album, 1991, self-titled, so we are getting to the end of this first chapter of the story. And yeah, the track is called Some Distant Memory. Distant memory is a funny phrase, or like, oh, it strikes a distant chord, because one, it suggests temporal distance, like it's in the past, and not just a little bit, but farther back in the past. But also, distant in that context often means it's not really remembered that well. It's distant in terms of like cognitive comprehension or retention or recollection, perhaps best. So yeah, I wonder if it will be, some haze to it or some lack of clarity, or if it is so far in the past that, the full details are not in the scope anymore. But ultimately, yeah, it speaks to the passage of time, I suppose, as well as potentially, an inability for one cognitively to mark every point along the way in that journey in a detailed way, or perhaps the earlier demarcations beginning to fade. So, it's weird. I talk about it a lot. I have a pretty bad short-term memory. Things slip out of my mind, even things that, just in the last couple of days. My long-term memory does tend to be better, but even so, it is weird how over time, the number of things you remember from some phase, they do tend to like shrink and consolidate a little bit. So it's like, there's a bunch of memories that you might remember from high school in the first few years after, but then, another decade, and then another decade on top of that, and it's like, yeah, I remember some of the big moments, but like, a lot of the memories, they just fizzle out. And then if someone were to bring it up, if they were to like, get you to activate that neural pathway again, like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, like, okay, that does strike a distant chord, I remember that now, but you might not have been able to recall it yourself. So yeah, I think about memory and cognition a lot, so this feels like maybe it's running in those kind of circles. Let's find out. This is electronic, Some Distant Memory, and it's the penultimate track on the 1991 self-titled album. Oh. Oh. I like it. It's got a big, fat bass with a PH.
If we could get lost in a city this size, if we wanted to.
That melodic synth has a bit of a PSP feel for sure.
Without seeing you. And every time I see your face, I feel out of place.
Ooh. That's very trancy, I like that.
It's so easy, why are you leaving? It's just because I've grown afraid of you. I wish we were at the beginning. It would be so good to be with you.
Wish we were at the beginning. It'd be so good to be with you. So it is like the difference between now and then. Ooh. I love that church bell type of layer.
See that girl, she's over there. I don't need her, she don't care. I could be one in a million. It would be so good to start again. It's so easy, why are you leaving? It's just because I've grown afraid of you. I wish we
got this kick beat still rolling through it, so it's like it's got some different sides here. Bass at the end there flared out. Well, bravo to Mr. Marr and to Mr. Sumner. That's crazy. Again, going into this, I had the sense, okay, it might have some guitar work that is reminiscent of the Smiths, but perhaps it'll be more, not perhaps, there'll be more electronic elements, more keyboards, more perhaps dance rhythms, and it has been that, but like, in ways I couldn't have predicted, and with multiple flavors on tracks, where it's like, okay, yeah, there's that breakbeat, you could definitely, there's a dance floor element to that, but again, we got some guitar that was almost like Spanish guitar, but it was also sort of like dreamy guitar a little bit, like Smith style, but then also the strings and this lush, like soundtrack type of atmosphere. And yeah, the church bells earlier, just a really sonically creative track. Absolutely love it. And again, knowing that on some level, like Marr's desire to try to, push production in some different ways and to try some different things beyond maybe what the Smiths' go-to formula have become, it's not surprising to now maybe get here and to hear a much greater spreading of wings in terms of like trying different things. Don't get me wrong, the last couple Smiths albums, they definitely were going in some different directions, bringing in some different sounds. But this, that felt like just a crazy journey with unexpected surprises along the way. So really cool one. One more tune to go on the album. As I said, I'm sure Han Solo will comment, but we'll see, what we can do after that. And yeah, just looking forward to hearing more from them. And again, as I mentioned before, and as Han Solo suggested, going through Joy Division before New Order. So that would be the plan. I do think I have a New Order, the single with Blue Monday, and I forget what's on the other side, but at some point, when we start going through the New Order stuff, we'll do whatever track that is on the flip side of the Blue Monday single. We'll do that in vinyl form. So, I still have that waiting. In any case, let me know what you think of this really cool track. I will see you next time. Peace.